When I was a kid growing up disabled in South Dakota, I walked on with crutches and braces. One of the hardest things for me about being disabled and all of that was asking for help or, being in a position where it appeared I needed help. Like if I fell or something like that. And I was always the type, I can do it myself, and people would come rushing up to help and stuff, and quite frankly, very often they were more harmful than helpful because if they didn't know how to do it right, it really could be a problem and could make it harder and much harder to get up, and in fact, maybe even painful for me. And throughout my life, all the time, when I would go, places and things like that, and people would hold the door for me. And I always thought that was, in a way, kind of funny because walking on crutches, if you know how to use your crutches properly, as I did because I was taught, different at different times, and in particular, for example, at Crippled Children's when I attended there, they taught me how to use my crutches properly, how to walk, how to even fall and get up by myself. In fact, one of the things that they did was, we in PT, physical therapy, was they would trip me next to a mat or something like that initially. And the reason for that, it may sound mean, but it wasn't at all. The reason for that was that I needed to learn to fall properly. Now, someone said along the way that, well, maybe that you should have just gotten down on the floor and then gotten back up. Well, that's fine, except it's not the same as falling. Because when you fall, you have to be able to get your crutches out of the way because landing on them isn't very good. But you needed to have them close enough so that you could use them again to get back up. Later on, as I would be going down the halls and things like that, it actually was fair game to for the physical therapist, if they saw me, to try and trip me. And it wasn't just me; it was the other ones. Wasn't a mean thing or anything. Although I wasn't the nicest, I wasn't the best kid in the world. I was no little angel, so I'm not going to say that maybe they didn't take a little extra joy in trying to trip me. But it really was a legitimate thing. They would trip you, and then to get back up by yourself, and they maybe would help a little if it was really a problem. But really, you had to learn how to do it on your own. And so I was tried to be very self-sufficient, and certainly not be a problem for people. And it was always kind of bother me when people would hold the door for me because I'm like, I can do it myself, and I would kind of grumble, thank you, or whatever, and because that's what you do, be polite. One time when this happened, I happened to be up on campus, and my cousin Rita was with me, and somebody held the door, and she kind of noticed that, and she asked me about it. She said, does that bother you? And I said, well, it kind of does, because, I can hold the door myself. I can do that. It's something that I can do. And she said, you're looking at it all wrong. When people do favors or help someone, like hold the door for an older person or someone that's disabled, it makes them feel good about themselves for having done something nice for someone else without something in return. And she said, in a way, you're actually doing them a favor by letting them help you. And I thought about it, and she was right, because it really is that way, that letting someone else help you maybe is the greatest thing that you can do for them, is to help someone else, makes them feel good about themselves. And a few years later, my cousin Rita had cancer, and when she was, really kind of sick and stuff, and I was talking to her one day, and she said, it always bothers me that I have to have so much help, and people are always, trying to help me and stuff. And I said, Rita, a very smart person once told me the best, nicest thing you can do for someone is to let them help you. And it really is important.